Hi, and welcome to our spooky Halloween episode of the Brewgooders Dynamic Duo of Beer and Comics podcast.
We've made an effort and dressed up.
Yeah, I think we were going to. I don't know why we didn't.
We did. We were going to, but
we meant to do this shot. Yeah.
Oops.
Apologies for the week delay on anyone. But, anyone that was looking for this last Saturday, but Colin was super duper busy and being. You were dressed up last Saturday, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
I don't know if the photos exist. Yeah, there's a couple of photos of you with your
outfit.
Top hat. With
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
steampunk.
You'll get to see the pictures when we review the beer that I got from
absolutely.
But that's for another time.
Yeah, totally. So we've picked comics and beer that have a spooky / supernatural / darker tinge to things. And before we went to
so we've got spooky beer.
What are we drinking just now?
I actually picked these out quite some time ago. So this is Beavertown's Bloody Ale, which says is a blood orange IPA. And so we cracked this open, tried it already. What are you thinking?
It's nice, strong, 5.5, so it's 8 ABV, so it's slightly stronger than we would normally. It's the Spectrum Sensational.
It's just good.
It's good, yeah.
It's lived up to its name. It's got a wee bit orangey citrus
flavour
in it.
And the smell, that's quite overpowering in the nose.
It feels very light, but fizzy, refreshing.
That might be quite dangerous though, because it does feel very light. It does come in smaller cans, so I suppose it all balances out. Beaverton have seemed to sort of sprouted up in a lot of we were saying that just before we recorded. You've seen them a lot in supermarkets and that just now as well. Quite an inexpensive beer. We've got a place in the Dirty Fox where we've recorded from a couple of times. They have a Beaverton on tap, which is quite amazing.
So the neck oil, it's good.
So a brewery that's definitely seems to be up and coming, and I think certainly in our local supermarket you can pick up Beaverton stuff.
Yep. And they're just nice little skull logo, which I guess is what drew me to it for spooky Halloween.
Bloody Ale.
Yep.
They're from London, Beavertown, which probably is where the L is the non-existent H. That's really nice, really citrusy.
Are we going to start talking about a comic already, or do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I'll go first with this one, because this is my comic of the week, I think. I read it. Colin lent me Bite Me, the Bite Me comic, which is a new mystery picture paper. He gave this to me with this podcast in mind. So I really like these, and these are the type of comic that I didn't really know about until I actually met Colin. These locally, I'm assuming Scottish produced multi-stories, like lots and lots of compendium, is that the word I'm looking for? Anthologies are the word I'm looking for. So Bite Me is an anthology. It's just full of, it's about 10 small stories, including Misty, which I think was
there's a couple of reprints of the original Misty stories from back in the 80s,
which was pretty awesome. It wasn't something I was expecting. Also some sort of 4-page short stories with some really good sort of horror based twists at the end. One that I really enjoyed was called Clarabelle and the Ghostly Locket, which was written by, I'm going to the back of the page, the story was by Dave West and the art was from Gary Crutchley. The art's great. It had a very it reminded me again of like these sort of comics from the 80s and the 90s,
they've absolutely cracked it with the art style.
It's quality. There's a running joke where one of the characters keeps saying, I think she says Ruddy Ick. Chuffing. She keeps saying the word chuffing. And keeps getting marked for her language, and it happens regardless of how spooky or scary the situation is. Her friend will just go language stone. No, really, I thought that was really good. As I say, like quite lots of short stories, and then there was this one where actually, and I felt kind of unashamed because ashamed of myself because I don't know if Colin had actually heads up me in this, but he's definitely talked about this before. It took me ages to go. So I read this comic called this short story called The Dog Sitter. I noticed while reading it that the protagonist looks like a young lady I know called Natalie, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. She kind of looks like Colin's Natalie, blah blah blah. And then in the end, written and illustrated by Colin Maxwell. So I was like,
there you go.
An esteemed colleague. Yeah, absolutely. And we attended. I immediately thought of this time where we'd attended a talk by another horror writer who Alison Sampson wrote on. We went to. She writes for Image. She's currently doing Hit Girl, and has done a couple of Hit Girl issues that have just come out at time of recording. We went to see her last year do a talk on how she builds comics, and she noted that a lot of her characters are people she knows, and that to the point that she would actually have folk pose for her so that she could draw them out. And I immediately thought, there's that's clearly what's happened here with Colin. He's used his daughter in some of the pictures, and it was really good, a really good short story, quite a traditional short story with like that sort of repeated, is that moving kind of stuff, and then that was just good. A really cool comic. I don't know how much, £3.50 this would have cost you, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Still available a lot of places. I think it actually came out about Halloween last year.
Yeah.
But still a few places have got it, and you can buy it online at, I think it's bitememagazine.com.
What's quite amazing about the local comic scene is you can, and I imagine this is in the majority of local comic scenes. I'm just thinking, when I say local comic scene, I mean the Scottish scene, is what I mean when I say that. You can be picking up really amazing pieces of work for like less than a £5 quite easily. I know you've got which we reviewed a couple of weeks ago. We reviewed Rock the God. I know that cost you less than a £5, and actually you got to meet a legend of 2000 AD and get it signed at the same time. You know, it's absolutely incredible. I would have paid somewhere in the region of 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. As part of something with a couple of postcards. I would easily have spent a tenner on this, and I have done for comics like this. So the idea that it's like such amazing comics
it's a good wee book, and we're really pleased to be part of it. It bizarrely came about because all the writers and artists that are involved in this were at MCM a couple of years ago, and the editor came around looking for artists and writers.
That's clever. That's a good way of doing it, I suppose.
So Gary and Dave, the story that you mentioned there, they're both Accent Comics, which I'll review one of their books soon. Awesome. When we're talking about steampunks, I'll be reviewing one of their books.
Good. Look forward to
that week.
Awesome. So please check that out.
Right, I'll maybe just dive into another comic while you pour our next beer. Yeah. Because you're being a bit slow there.
Oh, sorry.
Right. So I'll dive in and tell you a little bit about this comic here, Transylvanian Nights. That's Nights with a K.
Yeah.
Written by James McCulloch. Johnny Cannon's the artist, and I think Rob Jones is the letterer on this.
We reviewed James McCulloch before.
We have. Which
he did the what's that called? The forest, the chair, and those that reside there. I think is what it's called. I'm sorry if I got that wrong.
That was a few weeks back. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so James is a Scottish writer, well known for his kind of horror type stories. So this is a fairly new one. It came out, I think, a year ago, and we're desperately awaiting the next in the issue in the series. And I spoke to Johnny, the artist, not so long ago, and he was working away on it. So anyway, what's this about? It is about Dracula and Van Helsing, but it's a kind of a different take on it.
Yeah.
So there's been a war in Transylvania like 10 years ago, where Van Helsing's like the general who's like in charge of the army, who obviously fought off Dracula and his vampire army. So this is a number of years later, and Van Helsing's, a bit of an older guy, still hanging around with the king of Transylvania, and it starts off they're out hunting when a messenger comes to tell them that Prince Nicholas, the king's son, has been spirited away from the castle. So they all head back to the castle and discover Prince Nicholas has gone missing, and immediately General Van Helsing is on the case, looking for the evidence and speaking to witnesses and stuff. And he speaks to this maid who tells the story of this beast coming in and whisking the prince away. And that seems to be that. So General Van Helsing and his team of soldiers head off, in pursuit of Dracula. But then there's a little bit of a twist, because back at the palace, we see this mysterious character dressed in a plague doctor mask talking to the maid and thanking her for telling a lie. Yeah. So there's something else happening behind the scenes, and then halfway through the book we get introduced to these new characters who are circus performers. So there's this travelling circus, and they discover some stuff as well. So it's been around for a wee while, and we're kind of desperate to see issue 2 and see where that goes.
Awesome. I like the artwork from what I can see in there.
Yeah, have a wee peek at that.
The art was by...
Boris someday.
That's Johnny Cannon. Johnny Cannon.
Of Cannon Hill Comics.
Awesome. Quite old school kind of...
Yeah, just pure black and white. Yeah. No tones in there. Any kind of shading is just sort of... Well, there's a wee bit of shading actually, but not much.
The artwork reminds me of... kind of old, kind of pulp newspaper kind of.
Yeah, it's got that.
It's really cool. I like it. Awesome.
So I'd certainly recommend it, and certainly look out for the next issue, which hopefully will be quite soon.
Okay, we're going to take a short break if that's all right.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Absolutely, and then we'll fire into our next beer in comics.
Right, so we've cracked open our second beer, which is My Dream, My Nightmare from Tempest Brewing. Your thoughts?
It's I know you said it's a Tempest Brewing. It's a partnership with Tempest Brewing and Gipsy Hill.
Oh, so it is. Yes,
of course. I didn't mean to catch you with that, but the only reason I wanted to mention that is because it reminds me more of a Gipsy Hill than a Tempest Brewing beer. And you asked me just before we went to record it.
Yeah, because we had a few, haven't we?
I was just saying to Colin earlier, Tempest Brewing this year has emerged as one of my favourite breweries, if not my favourite. It's definitely my top 3 or 4 breweries that I've discovered this year. We have tried a couple of Gipsy Hills, and the Gipsy Hill, the consensus with Gipsy Hills is absolutely incredible. Like, I know we reviewed Amity, which I personally wasn't big on, and I got a bit of a chastisement from several people in the beer drinking fraternity, because Amity is a very well thought of beer, and it just wasn't to my taste. This reminds me of that a wee bit. I think Tempest Brewing do sort of more fruitier, complex mixtures of hops. Yeah. Not to say that this doesn't have a complex combination of hops.
It's certainly a bit unusual. It's not far off a similar taste to the previous beer, the Beavertown Bloody Ale, and it's quite citrusy, orangey flavours in there. It's more hoppy. It's probably the Amarillo hops, I think, that's probably what we're getting from that.
I'm liking the aftertaste though.
It's got a lovely taste about it. It's billed as an NEIPL, so like a New England India Pale Lager. So it's that sort of strange mixture of, I suppose it's almost like a blonde beer, that halfway between a lager and an IPA.
It's interesting because lager is just referred to the storage, I think. So it's not just the difference in how it's been stored once it's been brewed.
You get particular lager yeasts, don't you? So it's quite similar to. It's a reminder. That one.
I absolutely adore Tempest Brewing, and I think this is not my favourite that they've done.
Yeah, I'm quite liking it. I'm actually liking it. Just pips it for me against the Beavertown.
Yeah.
Personally, but only just.
There's something going on there, and I don't know what that is. It's got a low colour Maris malt. It's got oat malt in there as well, and there's loads of stuff going on in there. It's got lager yeast, like you said. That's good. I was expecting something else. Maybe I've maybe been beat up by my own expectations.
I think I could probably drink several of those bloody ales from Beavertown, but I probably wouldn't drink several of that. And I think it's just the hoppiness.
That's the one I've done.
Probably become. Yeah, we're not going to see this again, are we?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. No, I just mean like I would. I don't know why I said one and done. I would sit and drink that. Probably, that would be my drink for the evening. I would like. I wouldn't.
I mean, I don't know how easy that's going to be to get, given it's one of these
Tempest do that quite a lot, don't they?
You know, so it might be one that you only get for a short period of time.
I was just saying, like a couple of the Tempest ones I've had have been so niche and so have been produced in such low numbers that I've not been able to get them again for the review. I've drank them and went, oh my god, it's amazing, and then I'll need to get this again for the show, and then it's not been produced or it's run out. I have seen that in the shop quite a lot.
Yeah. So maybe it is readily available. I'm going to
I'm interested in
pour a bit more of this, and you can review your next comic.
Yeah,
I'll give you a bit more of that too.
Thanks. I would say, like, I would, just the last thing I would say, that I would buy that can possibly, and that would be my whole alcohol content for the night. I would quite happily drink that over a couple of hours, possibly.
Perhaps, yeah,
whereas the other one, I would be like, yeah, totally. I would probably get another ones back. Okay, so I am a long-standing fan of the dark multiverse stuff that DC have been doing, and I kind of pick up anything that comes up. I have my local comic book shop has fired out an advert for this stuff, so it's called Tales from the Dark Multiverse. This is number 1 of an ongoing series, and what the idea is in DC, for those that are unaware, the Dark Multiverse is there's 52 universes in the DC universe, and that's the get out of jail free card for why there's multiple Batmans and stuff, and it creates some really like nice little crossovers where they can visit Batmans from different planets and stuff, and different universes. The idea behind the Dark Multiverse is there's an alternative like 52 universes that are kind of doomed worlds. I'm going to pause for a second. Apologies. Sorry about that. So so the Dark Multiverse is this alternative 52 world universe that exists sort of underneath the current DC universe, and basically it's just where all the crap stuff happens. It's worlds that are dying, or universes that have collapsed because of cataclysmic events and stuff, and it was the focal point of a major DC universe turning around series that basically reshaped the entire DC universe a number of years ago by introducing the idea of dark and evil Bruce Waynes from multiple universes. So there's a big event happening in DC in the next year or two, and there's a character called the Anti-Monitor, or the Monitor, who is now travelling around the Dark Multiverse trying to look for hope, where he can pull out certain heroes from this universe to try and aid the current Justice League of America and the normal universe. You still following, Colin?
I think so.
But I think it's a really clever marketing technique by DC to revisit popular. It's a bit like the Marvel What If series that comes out every so often, and it's a really clever technique by DC to look at really popular stories from previous years of DC storytelling, and then change a storyline dynamic to see what would happen. And this one, the first one, is Batman Knightfall. So that the very famous 90s story that introduced Bane and properly introduced Azrael, and was just a major focal point of the Batman stories in the mid-90s. And what they've done is they've changed the idea that at one point, spoilers, but it's been out for like 25 years, at one point in Knightfall, Batman is not Batman. It's not Bruce Wayne. It's a guy called John Paul. Not called John Paul. He's called. We're not having much luck today, Colin, in terms of.
I know the character you mean, but I don't remember his name.
I'm not doing great. But yeah, he for a time takes over from Batman, because Batman has his back famously broken by Bane in that really famous panel where he lifts Batman and drops him. So Batman hands the kill over to this other guy who's reluctant to give it back once Batman recuperates and stuff and does all this Lazarus Pit stuff. So this is the idea that during the final fight, which Batman ultimately wins, continuing years and years of comics, Azrael wins that fight and continues to be the Batman in his and the Batman that he thinks Gotham needs, which, spoilers, isn't very nice. So it's pretty cool. Everyone should check it out. The art's incredible. They reimagined, so it moves forward a couple of years from the 30. It actually moves forward 30 years. Sorry, from the main. So it's basically what would happen 30 years after Knightfall, if it had ended with Azrael winning. And but the back costume's quite incredible. It's I'll hide that bit of the panel because it's a bit spoilery. But I really love this sort of reimagined kind of religiously themed Batman, who, like I was saying to Colin before we went to air, he has his dignitaries, his equivalent of Robin, and that named after dignitaries that the Pope would have in his case. So he talks about his cardinal and stuff like that. It's really smart, and it looks into the idea of how would Gotham function if Batman was a religious, brutal dictator, which is pretty cool. It's an ongoing series, so they're going to just pick. I think they're all going to be one shots of famous DC storylines from the past. The next one's going to be the death of Superman, which they continually try and do in movie form, with varying degrees of success. I think most recent one obviously was Batman versus Superman. They tried to retell that story in there, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with the comics. I don't know what the shift in dynamic will be. I don't know. Saying to Colin, it might be that Superman doesn't resurrect following the horrible death bit or something. I don't know what they'll do.
Who knows where it's going to go? Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, and it's one I'm looking forward to. So yeah. Scott Snyder is the name of the writer, and he's been involved in DC Comics for a long time now, and has pretty much overseen the big dramatic shifts that are kind of going through the entire line at DC just now. So it was cool to see him writing another comic as well. So please check it out because it is generally quite good in terms of mainstream stuff. Colin's looking at me again. I'm not drinking fast enough for Colin at the moment. Our next beer is one that we've both tried before. Yeah, go for that.
Yeah, one. Okay, so next beer then I'll introduce it is this Dark Arts Surreal Stout, they're calling it. This is Magic Rock, isn't it, that does this. Yeah. So again, Magic Rock, something you'll find in a lot of supermarkets as well as in your specialist beer shop. So
I picked this up from I don't know where, we've never ever had that conversation about whether we're actually allowed to name the supermarkets that we buy things from. But,
I don't know, Tesco probably.
Yeah, I got this one from Marks and Spencer's recently.
Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah,
right.
It's not just any ordinary beer.
No, actually, I think that I got this actual tin from the local beer shop.
Yeah. I really enjoy this one, actually.
So, yeah, I want to see. I think I have had this before. There you go. I can't quite remember.
Phantasma we did in the past.
Oh, it's got a lovely kind of chocolatey smell about it.
Do you remember what? Yeah. That,
chocolatey coffee.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much what. I'm trying to see what they've got in there. What the hops in that, all that kind of malarkey, but I think Magic Rock are quite good at masking that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a chocolatey, coffee flavoured stout, isn't it?
Yeah, biscuity. I think there's a kind of oatiness to the whole thing as well, which is obviously quite obviously reminiscent of a stout anyways.
Aye, as stouts go, that's quite pleasant. I'm liking the slightly different flavour it's got.
It's a beautiful chocolatey aftertaste in it as well. It's like almost like a milk chocolatey aftertaste. Though it's quite it's beautiful. 6%, so you'd have to be careful. I could drink multiple of these in one evening. I think I really like that. I'm a big fan of this particular stout, to be honest. I think there's the aftertaste, the bitterness and the aftertaste is almost non-existent. You're left with quite a sweet cereal kind of.
As if you'd put chocolate milk in your cereal.
That is what it is, but I didn't want to say that. I wanted to say like the milk left over from your like Wheaties or your Cocoa Pops, but
that's what it's like. Chocolate milk in your cereal, and that's it. Aftertaste you're getting with that. Definitely, that's the only way to describe it.
It is, but it's also like a really kind of. I feel like you're doing a disservice to the beer when you do that.
No, not at all. I don't think so at all.
I'm sure we reviewed something else in the last couple of months where I was like, yeah, that tastes like Wheaties, and I was like, actually, not many people know what Wheaties are. Like they're chocolatey cereal from when I was like 12. I don't even know if they still do it anymore. That's I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, I'm like the sweetness of it. It's like sweetness, not massive sweetness.
What makes a stout so real? Because that's what marks it. Yeah. Is that still marketing, or is that?
I think that's just marketing. Let's just call it surreal, and give it a cool design.
I really like this sort of. My wife wears a lot of dresses and shirts that have this kind of round. I'm trying to remember the name of I'll have to ask her and put it up later on. But all of Magic Rock's artwork is this kind of circular. But
motif that's got
different colours. Yeah. It's nice though, and it's really eye catching in the shop where it grabs quite quickly when you're, and even in a beer shop there's so many amazing looking cans. This is one that the Magic Rock stuff always catches my eye.
It's reminded me of some other stout or porter we've had in the past that we quite liked, but I can't remember which.
Yeah. What's the Brewdog Porter?
Oh, the zombie cake.
Yeah, it reminds me of that.
Praline Porter.
Yeah.
Not quite so sweet. It's not quite got the cake feeling about it, which you get from zombie cake. But certainly similar.
Yeah.
There's a similarness about it, but more your traditional stout flavour. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to top you up while you look at your next comic.
Alright, my next comic, my final comic, is Sabrina the Witch. So you may be aware of this teenage witch character, perhaps from the TV shows that have been around for quite a long time.
Yeah, totally.
What 80s are we talking about? There was a show then.
I want to say mid to late. It went on for ages. I was saying to you, like, it was certainly
with a little puppet car, Salem.
It was a key feature of my sort of youth, from like late primary school through to early high school. Sabrina was about.
Comics have been around forever.
Yeah, they're.
I mean, I don't know, 50s.
Part of the Archie. It's part of the Archie.
That whole Riverdale kind of tie-in. So. And obviously they've become more popular with the Netflix series,
which is quite a dark take on the whole thing.
It is definitely. It's not your typical teenage kind of scary movie.
That's quite inspired though.
A couple of episodes I've watched, and I mean to watch more. I probably will. But anyway, I picked up this comic. It is number 5. It's the end of the arc, and I'll be honest, I got it for the cover because the artwork here, the cover here, is by Gary Erskine, who's a Scottish comic artist. Well, I happen to work with Gary. Like, Gary and I worked together, and months and months ago, like 9 months ago, he showed me a preview of this, and he says, "Oh, I'm doing a cover for Sabrina the Teenage Witch." He says, "You want a peek?" So I had a little look, and actually, only today have I realised that Salem the cat here is probably one of Gary's cats. So he's got 2 cats, Meg and Mug. So it's probably one of them that he's used as the model here. I shall ask him next time I see him. But let me tell you a wee bit about the story. So it is the end of a story. And what's been happening in the town of Greendale is that there have been lots of monster attacks. So these monsters have been appearing and attacking people. And so much so that the people in the town are kind of forming a witch hunt sort of thing, to try and deal with it themselves. And Sabrina's aunts and some of the other witches go missing. They go into the forest to do something.
Yeah.
And they go missing. So Sabrina decides that she has to kind of take on things herself. So she arms herself with all these magical things from her home, these magical artefacts that are very powerful. She even turns Salem into this giant winged cat, which is rideable. So she flies about on Salem's back, and eventually finds her aunts and the other witches tied up in the forest.
Okay.
And as they're trying to help, as Sabrina's trying to free them, some of these monsters turn up, and she has a massive battle with all the monsters using all these different artefacts and things. So that's the storyline, and then we discover who's behind everything and who the monsters really are and things. And that probably is going to lead on to maybe a future arc, because it kind of sets up a bad guy who's also using magic, and he disappears at the end of the story, but presume he might well come back in the future. So yeah, it was mainly for the cover. I really like this.
It's a
style.
beautiful cover.
It's very much a sort of Norman Rockwell style, which I know Gary loves. And I particularly like, that it is, it's meant to be around Halloween, so clearly Sabrina's having to babysit, taking some kids around doing their Halloween, and it's like they've just arrived at somebody's door, and she's not particularly happy that, on the one night of the year when she should be doing witchy things, that's what she's ended up having to do, is look after these kids.
Who puts out the series? Is it Archie Comics? Is that the name of the actual publishing it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
I just noticed that Kelly Thompson's the writer as well. And I've read some of her stuff. I'm sure I read some of her Jessica Jones stuff years ago.
Yeah, and the fishes are the artists. I think I don't know if they're married or brother and sister. And Andy Fish, who I don't know if you have reviewed a comic by them before. I'm feeling we have.
Possibly. I'll have to double check the. It's not jumping to mind. We definitely we did the McElroys recently. That was the family that I remember. But certainly the fishes are.
Yeah. But have a look at the artwork there. It does have that teen comic feel about it.
Yeah.
But it's the gorgeous colour scheme that they use. I think it's really beautiful.
Purples and pinks in that.
It really works well. So gorgeous colours, and they're very attractive comic. So. That's the last comic, which means that we've got a beer. That's because I've been talking.
Yeah.
And we're going to need that.
That's why I always drink sour, because the only time I think we purposefully reviewed the same beer or the same brewer in one podcast. I think we may have done it before when we were doing dedicated podcast episodes, but in the dark we die. It's like the most brutal name of a beer.
Oh, what an awesome name for a beer. It's a black IPA.
Okay.
I don't know, have you had a black IPA before?
I'm sure we reviewed a black IPA.
I've had a couple. They're not that easy to come by.
Why is that, Colin?
Don't know. I guess they're just maybe not a thing. They probably just get billed as a porter or something. But clearly it is trying to create an IPA, but adding some dark.
It's got anything to do with it. It's 10%, Colin. That's what I assumed it was when you said black IPA. I assumed it was an ABV thing, but
so it is a strong one, and that's very evident from the flavour.
It doesn't smell particularly strong. That's you can smell the IPA kind of hoppiness in there.
Yeah.
You can tell
it smells kind of licoricey to me. So it smells like licorice a little bit, and I'm thinking I'm getting a slight flavour of that as well.
No. Oh. It's quite rich, Paul.
Very rich. Quite complex, got a lot of going on there. Sweet.
Really sweet.
Bitter as well. Rich, coffee, chocolatey flavours as well.
I'm trying to work out what's going on in there. There's so much going on there.
And it'll get you bloated.
It will get you absolutely bloated. Go back in 20 seconds for it. I don't think I've tasted a beer like this before. I don't really know what to... The closest thing I can think of off the top of my head is Jet. Is the dark IPA that... I don't know if it's an IPA. The dark beer that...
Porter, I think. The Inner
Bedu. But that's... This is not as punchy as that.
Yeah. It's got that sort of resiny taste about it as well.
I think there is there's resin pine in there.
Really getting that on the tongue.
I was going to say pine, absolutely.
Loads in there.
I've cheated and looked at the side of the bottle, but there's also there is like a fruity berry element to that as well. There's
yeah,
I think
not particularly strong, I would say, but it's there.
It says citrus on the bottle, and I'm not getting much citrus. I don't know if you are.
No,
but
no.
I just pine and berry are my two kind of overreaching. There's that kind of liquor. You said licorice earlier. There's a very licoricey aftertaste.
Mm-hmm.
It would get you blurred, like.
Yeah.
So
well,
where did this come from then? Because I
got this in the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant. Yeah, it was. I'd specifically gone in looking for kind of Halloween spooky stuff, and spotted that one. I thought, well, okay, it's 10%, but let's go for it and let's give it a try.
Yeah, we've had varying experiences with sort of higher ABV beers. I think that I'm enjoying this.
I'm liking this one. Yeah. Other ones I've gone, oh no, the alcohol's overbearing.
Yeah,
but the flavour of this one's quite strong, so I think it's taken over.
I think we've also become relatively acclimatised to different kinds of beers now.
Perhaps.
I've noticed that
I'm enjoying this, so I'm pouring a wee bit more.
I'm a geek that sometimes sits and puts old copies of our podcast on and just and listen to how we sounded like on week 4 now that we're on.
Listen to how rubbish we were and how we've improved 1%.
We have a marginal percentage. I think things are a wee bit smoother than they used to be. But what I have clocked is our beer tastes have changed, and we do give things an attempt that we probably wouldn't have attempted in the first couple of episodes. We do keep it fairly safe, like craft lagers and stuff like that. Whereas now we're delving into 10%. Black IPAs and being like, oh, this is alright.
Yeah. I have to say that earlier today I kind of felt that I might have a wee cold coming on, but I think this has got
that'll fix it.
This has fixed it. Yeah.
Apologies for the delay in this podcast. Next week, I think we're going to. We've been lucky enough to have folk that donate beers, and then we've got a couple of nice ones that from. The name of the brewery escapes me, but a brewery down south, but gosh wow, donated loads of beers, and you said you picked up a couple of things as well.
I got a couple of beers from odd places, so from Beamish at the weekend there, and one from Hotel Chocolat, the chocolate
I'm so
shop.
Excited about that.
So yeah, I got a beer from there. So we'll be reviewing a few odd beers next time.
I've got a couple of odd comics coming up as well. I picked up a really I've never got Superman before. I picked up a really interesting Superman comic about that was based on a radio play that I want to talk about next week.
I've got a sort of steampunk comic,
so that'd be good.
which will tie in with
your Beamish stuff,
from Beamish. Yeah,
awesome.
So I guess that's it for the week. Or unless you want to pick out a beer that you like in particular.
I'm aware that there's a low battery sign on my laptop. I would either go with the last one, or I like the 2 dark ones this week. But I know that you
like the dark ones. I did quite like. I mean, I have to say I didn't. I wouldn't say I wouldn't. I would buy these again.
Yeah, I think I'd buy every one we drank.
That one slightly edged it for me in terms of flavour.
Yeah.
That was good too, but that was quite cheap, so that would sway me to go for that. The 2 dark beers are lovely. That for a 10%er cracking.
Yeah, and the Dark Wheat Dye would be my favourite wheat beer this week.
Let's make that our beer of the week then.
I think Tempest Brewing, maybe we've reviewed them always quite highly. They've definitely got at least one beer of the week before now. So anyway, that's interesting. Okay. Awesome, cool. Cheers.